"You may be powerful," Anya declared, her voice surprisingly steady, "but you underestimate the light that burns within even the smallest spark." The Shadow King laughed, a sound like wind whistling through a graveyard. "Foolish elf, light cannot hope to stand against the all-encompassing darkness." He lunged towards her, a tendril of inky shadow lashing out. Anya rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding the attack. She remembered Eldarian's words, "Use it wisely." Focusing on the font's energy, she channeled it not as a weapon, but as a shield. A shimmering barrier erupted around her, deflecting the shadowy tendrils that lashed out at her. The Shadow King recoiled in surprise. He hadn't anticipated such a defense. Anya seized the opportunity. Drawing on the faint guidance from the font, she visualized a precise beam of light, not directed at the Shadow King himself, but at the swirling vortex of darkness that pulsed around his form. The beam struck true, severing a tendril of darkness. The Shadow King shrieked in pain, his form flickering momentarily. Anya realized her advantage. The Shadow King's power stemmed from the shadows themselves. By severing his connection to them, she could weaken him. Emboldened, Anya weaved between the king's attacks, channeling the font's energy with newfound precision. Each severed tendril of darkness dimmed the king's malevolent aura, his shrieks growing weaker with each blow. But the Shadow King wasn't defeated yet. He lashed out with renewed fury, the chamber itself trembling under the force of his attacks. Anya stumbled, her barrier flickering precariously. Just as the king lunged for the final blow, a blinding light erupted from the oculus of Ian. The chamber pulsed with an ethereal energy, pushing back the encroaching shadows. The Shadow King roared in defiance, but the light intensified, burning away the tendrils of darkness that clung to him. With a final, ear-splitting shriek, the king dissolved into a cloud of inky mist that dissipated into nothingness. Silence descended upon the chamber, broken only by Anya's ragged breaths. Exhausted but exhilarated, she approached the oculus. As she placed her hand upon it, a wave of information flooded her mind: forgotten lore, ancient battle strategies, and, most importantly, the knowledge of how to permanently seal the Shadow King away. The weight of this newfound knowledge settled upon Anya's shoulders. The immediate threat was vanquished, but the war was far from over. She had to find a way to share this knowledge, to unite the scattered resistance, and ensure the shadows never returned. Suddenly, a groan echoed through the chamber. Anya whirled around to find Eldarian, battered but alive, leaning against the doorway. Relief washed over her, so intense it almost brought her to her knees. "You did it, Anya," Eldarian rasped, a weak smile gracing his lips. "You saved us all." Anya rushed to his side, her heart overflowing with gratitude. Together, they emerged from the chamber, blinking in the sunlight that streamed through a high window. The world seemed brighter, cleaner, as if the shadows had lifted not just from the citadel, but from their very souls. The journey ahead would be long and arduous, but for the first time, Anya felt a flicker of hope. She was no longer just an elf yearning for adventure. She was a beacon of light, a protector, and with the knowledge gleaned from the oculus and the spirit of resistance rekindled, she was ready to face whatever darkness may come. The world had been saved, but the true fight for its future was just beginning. Anya and Eldarian emerged from the obsidian citadel, blinking away the sudden brightness after weeks spent in darkness. The air felt fresher, lighter, as if the world itself was breathing a sigh of relief. Eldarian, though weak, leaned heavily on Anya, his eyes filled with a profound gratitude. "You wielded the oculus magnificently, Anya," he rasped, his voice hoarse. "The knowledge you unlocked will be the key to rebuilding our world." Anya, despite her exhaustion, felt a surge of pride. The weight of the prophecy no longer felt like a burden, but a calling she had answered. But the euphoria was short-lived. The knowledge from the oculus was vast, overwhelming. There was so much to learn, so much to do. "Where do we begin?" she asked, her voice laced with apprehension. Eldarian pointed towards a distant mountain range, its peaks capped with perpetual snow. "The Lumen sages," he explained, "possess the wisdom and resources to help us decipher the knowledge and spread the word. They are our first allies." The journey to the sages' mountain sanctuary was arduous. They travelled on foot, relying on the dwindling provisions they had stockpiled and the kindness of scattered settlements that had managed to survive the encroaching shadows. Along the way, Anya witnessed the devastation firsthand. Forests were choked by thorny vines, sparkling rivers ran black with corruption, and the remnants of shattered villages stood as grim testaments to the Shadow King's reign. But amidst the desolation, Anya also found pockets of resilience. Hidden communities, led by brave men and women who had refused to succumb to darkness, emerged from the shadows. Anya shared the news of the Shadow King's defeat and the knowledge gleaned from the oculus, igniting a spark of hope in their eyes. Reaching the sage's sanctuary was like stepping into another world. The air shimmered with an ethereal glow, and lush gardens thrived in the perpetual twilight that bathed the mountain peaks. The Lumen sages, ethereal beings radiating an otherworldly serenity, welcomed them with open arms. Weeks turned into months as Anya and Eldarion pored over the knowledge from the oculus, deciphering ancient texts and battle strategies with the sage's guidance. Anya learned of forgotten technologies powered by light, of powerful artifacts hidden throughout the world, and most importantly, a ritual to permanently seal the Shadow King's prison. But knowledge alone wouldn't be enough. They needed to unite the scattered resistance, to train them in wielding the power of light and utilizing the forgotten technologies. Anya, her name whispered with reverence amongst the communities she had visited, became a symbol of hope, the elf who defied the shadows. Under her leadership, a resistance movement began to form. Warriors honed their skills, artisans crafted weapons imbued with light, and scholars delved into forgotten lore. The once fragile pockets of resistance coalesced into a formidable force, a beacon of light pushing back the encroaching darkness. Years passed, filled with training, strategizing, and forging alliances. Anya, once a young elf yearning for adventure, had become a seasoned leader, her eyes reflecting the steely determination of a warrior tempered by the wisdom of ages. Finally, the day arrived. Leading a vast army of light, Anya marched towards the heart of the corrupted lands, where a pulsating vortex of darkness marked the Shadow King's weakened prison. The final battle was upon them. The wind howled a mournful tune as Anya stood at the forefront of the assembled resistance army. A sea of faces, etched with determination and hope, stretched out before her. Human warriors, their faces painted with luminous war paint, gripped enchanted blades. Elven archers, their eyes glinting with an inner fire, nocked glowing arrows. Dwarven berserkers, their voices a deep rumble, hefted massive hammers imbued with the power of light. Beside Anya stood Eldarion, his once frail frame now radiating a quiet strength. The weight of years rested on his shoulders, but his eyes shone with unwavering faith in his chosen champion. In the distance, a towering obsidian monolith pierced the bruised sky. Dark tendrils of energy writhed around its base, marking the prison of the Shadow King. Anya raised her hand, the silence pressing down heavy. For generations, her voice rang out, clear and strong, carrying on the wind. We have lived in fear. The shadows stole our light, our hope, our very future. A murmur of agreement rippled through the ranks. But today, she continued, her voice rising in fervor, we fight back. Today, we reclaim what is rightfully ours. Today, we end the reign of darkness. A thunderous roar of approval erupted from the army, shaking the very ground. Anya felt a surge of energy course through her, a collective will fueling her own. With a battle cry that echoed through the desolate plains, she charged forward, the army surging behind her like a wave of light. The first line of defense was a grotesque horde of shadowspawn, twisted creatures birthed from the darkness. Anya weaved through the fray, her dagger flashing with deadly precision. The font's energy pulsed around her, deflecting blows and leaving smoldering wounds on the creatures of shadow. The human warriors fought with a righteous fury, their enchanted blades leaving streaks of light that cleaved through the darkness. The dwarven berserkers roared their war cries, their hammers pulverizing the shadowspawn into inky mist. The battle raged. Arrows rained down from the sky, spales of shimmering light arced through the air, and the clash of steel echoed across the desolate landscape. But the tide was turning. Emboldened by Anya's leadership and the knowledge gleaned from the oculus, the resistance fought with a coordinated ferocity that overwhelmed the Shadow King's corrupted forces. Finally, they reached the base of the obsidian monolith. Anya raised her hand, signaling for a halt. This was the heart of the darkness, the place where the Shadow King's prison was most vulnerable. Eldarion stepped forward, his staff crackling with arcane energy. "The ritual," he rasped, his voice strained but resolute. "We must perform it quickly, before the Shadow King regathers his strength." Anya nodded, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm. Taking a deep breath, she focused her will, channeling the knowledge from the oculus. The ritual was complex, a symphony of light and sound that resonated with the very fabric of reality. Eldarion chanted in an ancient tongue, his voice weaving through the chaos of battle. The remaining Lumen sages, their forms shimmering with otherworldly light, joined the ritual, their voices adding to the growing power. As the ritual reached its crescendo, a blinding light erupted from the base of the monolith. The dark tendrils writhed in agony, shrieking as they were severed from their source. The very ground trembled, and cracks snaked up the obsidian structure. Anya felt a surge of power course through her, a connection to the prison itself. With a final, earth-shattering roar, the monolith exploded outwards. Inky tendrils of darkness writhed in the air, coalescing into a monstrous form, the Shadow King, his rage and despair a palpable aura. "Foolish mortals," he roared, his voice a chorus of tormented screams. "You cannot defeat me. The darkness will consume you all." But Anya stood undaunted. She raised her hand, channeling the combined power of the font's energy, the knowledge of the oculus, and the unwavering will of the resistance army. A beam of pure light, blindingly bright, erupted from her palm, striking the Shadow King with the force of 1,000 suns. The Shadow King shrieked, a sound that tore at the very fabric of reality. His form writhed and contorted as the light burned away his darkness, reducing him to a whimpering wisp of shadow that dissipated into nothingness. Silence descended upon the battlefield, broken only by the ragged breaths of the weary warriors. Anya lowered her hand, drained but exhilarated. The Shadow King was vanquished. Cheers erupted from the battlefield, a wave of joyous noise that echoed across the desolate plains. Tears welled up in Anya's eyes, a mixture of relief and exhaustion. Years of struggle, of loss and sacrifice, had culminated in this moment. The darkness had been pushed back, the world saved from the brink of oblivion. Eldarion, his face etched with fatigue, but a triumphant smile gracing his lips, approached Anya, placing a hand on her shoulder. He rasped, "You have done it, child. You have brought light back to this world." Anya nodded, her voice thick with emotion. The weight of leadership, the burden of prophecy, finally lifted. But amidst the euphoria, a pang of sadness settled in her heart. The cost of victory had been high. Many brave souls had fallen in the fight against the shadows. The following days were a blur of activity. The resistance army, their initial jubilation subsiding, turned their focus to the long road ahead. The corrupted lands needed healing, the scattered communities needed to rebuild. Anya, hailed as a hero and savior, knew her work was far from over. Weeks turned into months as Anya led the reconstruction efforts. She used the knowledge gleaned from the oculus to develop technologies that cleansed the corrupted lands, restoring life to the ravaged ecosystems. Elven artisans, guided by ancient texts, crafted luminous crystals that pulsed with the font's energy, pushing back the lingering shadows. Slowly, but surely, the world began to heal. Forests bloomed anew, rivers ran clear, and the whispers of darkness faded into memory. New settlements sprang up, beacons of hope in the once desolate plains. Children, born after the Shadow King's reign, played under skies free from the taint of darkness, their laughter a testament to the hard-won victory. Years passed, and Anya, her youthful exuberance tempered by the weight of her experiences, became a wise and revered leader. She never forgot the lessons learned during the dark times, the importance of unity, the power of resilience, and the ever-present need to be vigilant against the shadows that lurked at the edges of their world. One crisp autumn eve, under a sky ablaze with stars unseen for generations, Anya stood on a hill overlooking a bustling new city. Eldarion, his hair now streaked with silver, leaned on his staff beside her. A gentle breeze carried the sounds of laughter and life, a melody far sweeter than any song. "We did it, Anya," Eldarion said, his voice filled with contentment. "We brought back the light." Anya smiled, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. It was a tear of joy, of gratitude, and a silent promise the world was safe, for now. But as long as she lived, she would be its protector, a guardian against the shadows, forever vigilant. The prophecy of the elf who defied the shadows may have been fulfilled, but Anya's journey, the journey to safeguard the light, had just begun anew. The ending you crafted beautifully encapsulates Anya's journey and the enduring spirit of hope. If you'd like to explore another narrative thread, here's a possibility. Years after the Shadow King's defeat, whispers of strange occurrences began to drift in from the uncharted eastern territories. Glowing flora with peculiar properties, sightings of never-before-seen creatures, and rumors of ruins older than any known civilization. Anya, though older and bearing the weight of leadership, still possessed an unyielding spirit of adventure. The embers of curiosity, once fanned by youthful dreams, flickered back to life. The world was safe, for now, but the unknown beckoned. One evening, under the same star-studded sky, Anya approached Ildarian, her eyes twinkling with a familiar glint. "Ildarian," she began, "perhaps it's time for a new adventure. The East holds secrets, whispers of a past even the Oculus couldn't reveal." Ildarian chuckled, a frail but genuine sound. "Always the adventurer, my dear Anya, but remember, even heroes need companions on their journeys." Anya's smile widened. Perhaps it was time to gather a new fellowship, a younger generation who had only heard stories of the darkness and craved the thrill of discovery. The world was safe, but there was always more to learn, more to explore. The prophecy of the elf who defied the shadows might be a chapter closed, but the legend of Anya, the protector and seeker, was far from over. The East awaited, a new mystery to unravel, a new adventure to embark upon. Decades had passed since the defeat of the Shadow King. Anya, once a young elf brimming with curiosity, now bore the weight of leadership etched on her face. Streaks of silver wove through her raven hair, a testament to the time spent rebuilding a world ravaged by darkness. Yet, a spark of her youthful adventurous spirit still flickered in her eyes, ignited by whispers drifting in from the uncharted eastern territories. Tales of flora that pulsed with otherworldly light, creatures unlike any documented in ancient texts, and ruins older than any known civilization danced on the wind like forgotten melodies. The world was safe, for now, but the unknown whispered promises of forgotten lore and hidden wonders. One crisp autumn evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon painting the sky in hues of orange and gold, Anya found Ildarian gazing out at the star-strewn tapestry above. The weight of years sat heavy on his frail form, yet his eyes still held the wisdom of ages. "Ildarian," Anya began, her voice laced with a hint of nervousness, a quality she hadn't felt in years. "The East," she trailed off, gauging his reaction. Ildarian turned towards her, a knowing smile playing on his lips. "The whispers have reached you as well, haven't they?" Anya chuckled, a sound as light and carefree as the wind chimes that adorned the newly built city that sprawled before them. "They have indeed. The East beckons, Ildarian. Secrets lie buried there, whispers of a past the Oculus couldn't reveal." Ildarian's smile widened. "Oh, the insatiable curiosity of youth," he rasped, his voice warm with amusement. "It seems even the weight of leadership can't entirely extinguish that spark within you." Anya met his gaze, a determined glint mirroring the starlight in her eyes. "The world is safe, for now, Ildarian, but there's always more to learn, more to discover. The East may hold the key to a future we never imagined." Ildarian leaned on his staff, his gaze sweeping across the bustling city. "The younger generation has only heard stories of the darkness," he mused. "Perhaps it's time for them to forge their own legend, a legend of discovery, not just defense." Anya's heart leapt. Ildarian understood. This wasn't just about her own thirst for adventure, but about inspiring a new generation. The heroes who had fought alongside her were aging, their stories becoming whispered tales around crackling fires. The East needed a new fellowship, young minds eager to explore and learn. "Then perhaps it's time to gather a new group," Anya declared, her voice ringing with excitement. "A fellowship to explore the East, to document its wonders, and safeguard any knowledge it may hold." Ildarian chuckled, a sound that echoed through the twilight. "Always the leader, my dear Anya, but remember, even heroes need companions on their journeys. This new fellowship, it will be theirs to lead, their story to write." Anya's smile was radiant. The East awaited, a canvas untouched, a promise of adventure shimmering on the horizon. The prophecy of the elf who defied the shadows might be a chapter closed, but the legend of Anya, protector and seeker, was far from over. It was time to light the torch and pass it on, to guide a new generation towards the sunrise, towards the mysteries and wonders that lay hidden in the uncharted East. Elated by Eldarian's approval, Anya spent the following weeks meticulously planning the expedition. The East was vast and unexplored, filled with rumoured dangers alongside potential wonders. She decided a small, well-trained group would be ideal, agile enough to navigate the unknown and strong enough to overcome any obstacles. First, she sought out Kai, a young elf with a natural affinity for the wilderness. Though lacking combat experience, his knowledge of plants and tracking would be invaluable. Anya then approached Lyra, a human scholar with a thirst for forgotten lore. Her deciphering skills would be crucial in unraveling any ancient texts or forgotten languages they might encounter. Finally, Anya couldn't embark on such a journey without a sturdy guardian. Bronik, a dwarven warrior with a gruff exterior and a surprisingly gentle heart, readily agreed to join the fellowship. His unwavering loyalty and combat prowess would provide much-needed security. The day of departure arrived, tinged with a bittersweet sentiment. Eldarian, frail but proud, stood amidst a throng of well-wishers who had gathered to see them off. He placed a weathered hand on Anya's shoulder. "Remember, Anya," he rasped, his voice laden with wisdom, "the East may hold forgotten knowledge, but it may also harbour dangers we cannot foresee. Be vigilant, trust your instincts, and most importantly, never lose sight of the wonder that fuels your curiosity." Anya nodded, her heart swelling with gratitude. Eldarian had been her mentor, her confidant, and a constant source of strength. She wouldn't let him down. With a final wave goodbye, Anya and her companions stepped through the shimmering portal created by Lumen sages, a gateway leading them to the uncharted territories of the East. The world shimmered and dissolved around them, replaced by a breathtaking vista. Lush, emerald forests stretched as far as the eye could see, vibrant flowers bloomed in impossible hues, and strange, winged creatures soared through the cerulean sky.